Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning. But just to briefly introduce the theme of today. So, I mean, it's been scattered throughout everything that we've been exploring so far. And I'm sure you've noticed in that when you go into nature and you have that quietness and stillness, that it really provides an amazing opportunity that you learn a lot more about yourself in a lot of different ways. So it's not only, you discover what you're holding inside of you, the places that need to be healed. But of course, you're also looking at how you're relating and responding to things. It can be a bit of a testing environment. And so you can think about how you're developing resilience. You can think about how, you're developing and understanding relationship. So you learn a lot about relating. So you learn a lot about your, what we would call inner nature. But the other aspect of self is, of course, the sort of capital S self, which we would call true nature. So, and I'm saying we as in way of nature, which is, the main lineage that I work with. So way of nature, the intent is really to explore deepening connection with outer nature. So obviously the natural environment, inner nature, the nature of our personal selves, but then true nature, which in a sense is capital S self, consciousness, the essence of where life comes from. So that's another kind of angle that you can think about today. And definitely when we're talking about, the nature of interconnectedness, that's something that nature really does teach us, is that, we can't be ourselves except for all the relationships that we hold. So before we get started today, this is our last day, and I do want to hear very briefly from everybody this morning, so I can tell what's going to be the best way to give you the best experience on your last day. So if we can do a little check-in, and I would just like to hear, and it could just be a couple of words, just let me know how you're going, how you're feeling, what's really alive for you right now, just so I can get the sort of flavor of where everyone's at. So if we can pass the mic around the circle and just say, what's alive for you this morning?
So for me, couple days struggling to connect with nature, and still I have a moment, but still finding the the best moment in it lah. But still, yeah, a bit struggling for me, because maybe this is my first time. I'm not really a spiritual people, so it's kind of kind of hard lah for me. But I have a little moment.
Because the nice thing about nature is that you don't even have to be spiritual, so to speak. I have people come on the quest sometimes who are really not spiritual people, but it's a sort of doorway to be able to find an easy way of feeling connected. So yeah, keep going with it. I'm sure you'll keep experiencing more of those little moments.
This is really weird feeling. I feel really hard to have a connection with the nature, because yesterday I didn't feel any special moment or any special connection with the nature, because I'm the one who really had to give my attention. It's really hard for me to focus. The more I spend my time in the same spot, I keep thinking about the different things. I start to drawing in my book, and I feel like I don't know how to say this, but I feel like I didn't feel anything special compared to the day one. And hopefully before I going back to KK yesterday, I really want to feel something that most of you feel it. I don't know, because maybe the moment I came here, there are so many things in my head, and it keeps coming, and I don't know how to settle down. I don't know how to
I guess there's a couple of things that I want to say to that. Is one, just because you don't feel like there's anything special going on doesn't necessarily mean that it's not happening for a start. So if any of you feel like, you're going out and you're not sure, if you're actually really kind of doing it or not, I mean, I can hear just in how you're talking that you really do have that genuine intention. And so I do really trust that there's actually probably a lot going on. And sometimes we see on the quest, like it could actually take months for things to kind of unfold and show themselves for people. So for any of you, sometimes, if you feel like you're actually struggling to connect, or that, you're not, maybe, you're not doing it right because you can't get your mind clear, that's all totally part of it. And I'm totally trust that nature's actually already helping you with all of that as you do it. So yeah, definitely, have faith that it's still all working and you are getting what you need. Yeah, and just stay with it and just keep holding your intention.
For me, I think during the the asking question from your partner to nature, I felt like I was given so my partner was Rombong and also Cynthia, and then I felt like I was given jigsaw puzzle, and then I just brought the unfinished jigsaw puzzle to them. That was like the more I try to understand it, the more I don't understand it. So I think I let it set, not understanding what it is yet, hoping that I would get to understand it soon.
The really frustrating thing is that is like life. The more you understand it, the more you realize that you can't. So yeah, anytime you're feeling like you're landing on a paradox, I think you're really getting it.
Gone through like a wide spectrum of emotions and kind of like reflections over the last couple of days. One thing I think I came in here like throwing a lot of questions out into the universe, like trying to find out like basically what I should do with myself. But funny, something I didn't expect to think about a lot, which is kind of like been on my mind the past few days, like coming up in different ways, was sort of like the relationships I have with the people in my life. Whether it's my family or mainly my friends, a lot to do with my friends and stuff like that. That's something I wasn't expecting to think about over these solo sessions, but things that have come on my mind a lot.
A couple of words that resonate for me from the last couple of days. One is remembering, and the other one is welcome. Those were my, like most powerful experiences in going back into nature. It got a little bit overwhelming yesterday afternoon when I was getting all these downloads about how to support the forest. It's like, do this. I was downloading it to Ken. By the way, Ken, we have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't avoid things going to my head, so I always have the experiences, and then it always travels upward to my head. But in the remembering and the welcome, which is always what I feel, I am thinking, we humans took ourselves out of the equation so we can be in dominance. So whenever we go back or go in, there you know, I guess there would be a welcome. So that's from my head. The other one last night was the edge of darkness. So I was going to the edges of everywhere, and then I realized, oh, I live on the edge of darkness. A lot of the time when we're down in our, you know, in winding up the day, we don't even turn on lights. So showers and washing face and all this. So, but I was just more tuned in, just looking into the darkness while brushing my teeth and looking at all the fireflies and being very grateful that this is where I get to coexist. I think the other thing that's very present for me today is responsibility. You know, creating the space and curating these experiences for others, to welcome others into, and sometimes it can trigger and it can open and then not be closed, to be safe.
Well, right on that topic, we're actually not going to follow what's in the workbook this morning. So we're going to use this solo time now, and we can do the Qigong recap afterwards and the other activities in the workbook. But we're going to use the solo time now, for a little bit of closure and integration. It's actually, I was thinking about it, you know, how to best manage the fact that we've got one person leaving early, and it actually kind of works really well. So because the theme of today was going to be about, you know, reflecting on what we're learning and what we would still like to learn and process. So what we're going to do for this morning's solo is actually like a little bit of a ceremony. So to give you a bit of a background, when I run the quests, we use a ceremony that is based on the directions, but it's not based on like any particular cultural, you know, this direction is related to this animal or this color. It's simply looking at like the way that the sun moves. And we won't do the full ceremony, so I won't explain all of it. But basically what we do is we face each direction and use what's present in nature and the feeling of the quality of each direction to reflect on what we have received or learnt, what's opened inside of us, what we've managed to let go of, however it relates to what's present in front of us, and use that to integrate those learnings, because in the process of reflection, we start doing that, but then also to give thanks and reciprocity. So we find, you know, a true sense of gratitude in our hearts for everything that we've been learning and developing and growing through. But then we also reflect on what else that relates to these qualities that we want to pray for. So what are we asking for to come in for us? What help do we want? What guidance do we want? What support are we asking for? So we're basically going to take the essence of that into this morning's solo, because that is good for Emily, who has to leave today, but it's also good for everybody else to take stock of where you're at, what you've learned, and what you want to continue learning and working on for the rest of the time that we've got here. So in your solo site, I want you to, rather than look at the directions, contemplate with each being of nature that you have in your site, something that reflect on things that you have learnt, and therefore also things that you are grateful for, the gifts that you've received. So as an example, you might have a rock in your site, and you might think about how this time in that spot you've, you know, learned how to feel a lot more solid in yourself or more grounded. So you're reflecting on the qualities of the rock and what kind of lessons you have learnt or qualities you've developed that relate to that being of nature. You might lie down and look at the sky, and you might think about everything, how you've felt a sense of expansion and the inspiration or clarity that's come to you. You might look at a tree and think about, that alignment through the trunk, that sense of being grounded and reaching to the sky at the same time, this conduit between earth and the heavens. And so as we go through, and you're just going to keep doing this for the entire solo. And then after you think about what you're grateful for and what you're giving thanks for, then also think about what you want to pray for, what you want to ask for, the support that you're asking for moving forward, whether that's moving forward, going home, or whether that's moving forward, for the rest of the course. And you can also even think about what you want to pray for the rest of life. It doesn't actually need to be things that you're asking for yourself. It actually could be a bit of both. So, if there's a sort of particular kind of pain or suffering that you're going through, you could also be praying that this type of suffering is alleviated in yourself and in others. You could be praying for, the healing of earth. There's no limit to what you can and can't include here. It really is what is really true for you right now. So between each being, so just say you looked at the rock and then the sky and then the tree, between each one, make sure you take some time for stillness as well. So you could even do this, just a couple of times, and after you finish asking for what you need moving forward, you could just sit in stillness, in that sort of listening stillness, so that you can hear if there's a response come back, or just very simply just enjoy the feeling of being in that state of gratitude and prayerfulness, because it almost, it's almost like a peak experience for a human to be able to sit in that quality of reverence and sacredness. So great. So we'll head out to our solo sites. Okay, so how did that go? Let me hear from some people about what that felt like, things you learnt, what it's making you think about moving forward. You don't have to share everything, especially if it's, too personal details. There's no pressure to do that, but just to be aware that sharing with everybody else can be useful as part of integrating. And it can also be really useful for other people to hear, because that can enable them to learn from you. Often it's hard to see what's going on and at play for yourself, but when you hear someone else explain it, you might be able to see how that relates to you. So think about sharing both as what's useful for you, and then also what might be useful for everybody else.
I got some experience today because I heard a lot about curiosity since yesterday. So I've been curious. So I go to my sit spot, and then because since yesterday I never move, I just sit there or stand there. I never walk around even 5 meters, or I just there lah. And then today there's one tree. The leaf is moving strangely because other leaf doesn't moving at all. So it's like really strong move, like right to left. So I thought I want to see what it's about. So I go down to the step, and nothing special actually. But when I arrived, the leaf stopped moving, and I thought like, oh, there's nothing special. But Oh yeah, at first before I go to my seat spot, before I sit there, I can feel like, oh, this man again. Why? So I don't feel, but I kind of like, I like that kind of feeling because the more people don't want me to be there, I will be there actually. So yeah, but I think that's they don't want. I think they want me to be there, but maybe they just like annoyed. Oh, this man again. He's just there doing nothing, and yeah, I just go to the lift that moving around, and then I spend quite a lot, quite sometimes there, and then I go back to my seat spot, and I'm shocked that there's a lot of fire ant there. It's a lot. I sit there since yesterday, nothing happened. And when I go back, oh my god, oh thank you, Liv, for calling me. If not, I got bitten by an and I oh my god, that's it's out of curiosity that brings me. So maybe it's also answer for me for my question yesterday what I should do. I think the message is you just need to move a bit from your spot to see something or to avoid something happening. And when the sign, when there's a sign to call, sign that's calling, just go, even though it seems like nothing. But when I came back to the spot, there's a lot of fire, and so thank God, thank to the lift also. And yeah, it was I was shocked and oh my God. Thank you. And then when before I came back, I say goodbye to the lift, bye. And like the lift also like this. Okay. See you this evening. Okay. So that was the strongest connection that I have since I was here. Yeah.
I don't know. It felt like it just kind of like beckoned me to just, don't move. My tree friend was like, just stay still, be calm, and, just take in the moment and be there. Right. So it's kind of been like that the past couple of solos. But today was interesting. I really thought about um, what, what called on to me was what it meant to just be. And that was super interesting actually, because I was just kind of sitting down and waiting for something to come. And I noticed my senses were kind of like being brought to very different things. So my sight brought me to look at the grass that was growing horizontally, and then the trees that would grow very tall, as tall as they can vertically, and then um, and then and then it came to the sounds. There was silence, and there was also sound, um, and things that I could see and things that I couldn't see, which was things above ground and also the things underground. And I realized that um, everything in those, I don't know, spectrums, I suppose, and everything in between, there is life. And I was just like, wow, like everything is just being the way that it is supposed to be. And I thought that was super powerful. And it just, I think it really taught me to just kind of like take in the moment and be in acceptance of what is around me. And from there, I will be able to see and find the beauty and actually express and even feel the gratitude for all of these things. Yeah. Uh, and it was, and I had like a very interesting interaction with my tree friend actually. I was sitting down and I remembered that some of the people here have made offerings to their trees, and it didn't. Then I was wondering if I should make an offering. So I was sitting down there, and I was like, "Do you want a gift? Would you like a present?" And And my tree friend was just like, you can try.
Lovely. And may I just suggest that you probably already have offered something. I remember your story about singing in the orchestra, and I would suggest that singing is actually a really lovely offering to give. So yeah, offerings can be physical, they can be energetic, but they absolutely, song and being part of that orchestra of life is a wonderful offering in itself. And yeah, sometimes some of the most powerful moments have been, I'm not a singer, but sometimes something just comes out and it really seems to be received really well. So yeah, I think you're probably doing it without knowing it.
For me, this section is more different from the previous one. And then when I follow my heart, I use the yin approach to take a spot for me. And then I don't know, I follow my heart and go into deep on the jungle. And then until I find one rubber tree is falling down, and then I feel, oh, maybe it's nice if I sit top of the tree. And then I sit there, and then I do the exercise we do this morning. I take the energy from the nature and go to my body. And after I doing the 3 time, and then I feel my mind is clear. I didn't think anything. And then I just focus on the nature. When I look down, I think about the rock. And then in my head, it pop question, what similar or different me and the rock. And then I just playing in my mind, and all the entire section I just play in my mind. What is different? What I can learn from the rock? What should I do in my walk and in my life? And then I realized the stone is hard, and then the stone is the stone is can put their self by their own self. I mean, if the stone here, just here, didn't move anything, and then the stone is received. Oh, I'm here. I here, and I should be myself. And then I learn from that stone. I be myself. And then when I facing like this, and I saw the tree, and then I asked the same question again. What different I'm in tree, and what should I learn from that? And then when I look the tree, have a different types of tree. Have the little one until the tall one, and then all the tree have one objective. They want to live, they want to grow. Then my mind is think, me also like the tree. I want to grow, I want to learn more. Nothing can stop me like the tree. They will higher, just want to grow. And then my mind is keep thinking about that. And then sometimes I stuck. When I stuck, and then I do the exercise again, I try to get energy from the nature. And then I remember what you said, you can transfer the energy to the spot which you want. And then I try transfer the energy in my head. Not in the body, just in my head. Tak, gitu. Tak. And then after I do that 3 times, and then my mind is keep rolling, keep thinking again. And then, wow, it is coincident, but I feel, wow, nice. I can use this method to get an idea, or if I want to solve one problem.
Well, you heard this morning that I was quite, feeling very enthusiastic. So I arrived very enthusiastic. And I announced to the beings in my place that today I was going to celebrate them one by one. And even that strangling fig that had actually not showed up in my dream at all is going to be celebrated. Not yet, anyway. Maybe it will tonight. So, and I felt unbelievably happy to be offering that kind of celebration and running through all the different beings that were, suddenly crowded around me, and with each one I tried to feel what it was, and very quickly I had something which I think somebody else said, I think maybe it was Sam. Each one is expressing itself to the full in a beautiful way. Each little plant, it's got its own little way of unfolding its leaf, and everything was being what it was being. The squirrels running down the trunks head first. I mean, what that must be like, I don't know. But they go for it. I suddenly realized that I was also I found myself I was also accepting myself, so bunch of beautiful butterflies. So, and the butterflies going this way and that way, and just going, wandering around with their intent, their intensity. And I found myself recognizing, my own wandering and intense enthusiasms and accepting them. And so, the more I did this, the more in everything there was a little bit of me. There was the rubber tree that the guys have been chopping and burning and all the rest, and it still isn't dead. It's still there, trying to put out its leaves, and there's a bit of that in me, and a bit of everything is, of course, in all of us. And so that was very beautiful. That I thought I was just going to be offering love, and I got even more back. So it's kind of like pretty hard to get even, and very easy to be reciprocal. And there are just so many beautiful little things. I was just, there's where my place is a cleared piece of forest. So there are all these leaves being blown from the very top of the very tall trees, and they come down. They take a long time coming down, swinging round and round and round. And I was thinking, how everything comes to an end. But when something ends, they didn't do it with such beautiful grace, as it comes to the top of the tree, just beauty and dignity, no rush, just comes down when it's ready, and it goes. It has one last, wave to everybody. Anyway, so I was very, 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 very happy, and really, really, really enjoyed and found just how many things there are to give thanks for.
Beautiful. Yeah, certainly when we do that kind of reflecting and giving thanks activity in the directions, because you move in a spiral or circle in a way, but you realize, especially when you do it day after day, that it becomes like a spiral, because like you say, you give thanks for one thing and then something else is revealed, and it is this process of like deepening and participating in this unfolding that everybody benefits from. It really, it's just incredible how far there is to go with it, and more and more and more you're seeing how everything is reflected in everything else, and everything's totally really connected. And doing it that way, for me, it just seems to open that interconnectedness in a really embodied way, because you're feeling it all happen and feeling the joy open inside of you, as well as the wisdom, all at the same time. So we'll definitely have time for at least one more activity before lunch. I am kind of going to just sort of scrap the questions in the workbook for this morning, because I thought of an even funner question to get you to do now, which someone had, well, it was present in a lot of your sharings, although I'm not sure if it's necessarily something that everyone realized or not, but was definitely conscious in a few people's sharings, where you were talking about what you were resisting. So given that the theme is learning about ourselves through nature and our relationship with nature, the question that I would like you to go and contemplate for, say, about 10 minutes in nature is, what have I been resisting? And that can be a tricky one. So I invite you to be quite curious and even playful with it to try to unlock some awareness. But resistance, you might know when, there's something that you're just not wanting to embrace. Signs could be things that are making you feel uncomfortable, things that you're trying to distract yourself from. But it also sometimes can be quite subtle and hard to pick out what we're resisting, especially anytime the ego is involved. So if our ego is starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable, and there's something that might threaten our self-image or make us feel vulnerable in any way, the ego can do a great job at distracting us. We might numb out. We might suddenly get really sleepy. There can be a lot of subtle ways that we resist, and especially when the ego and wanting to stay in ignorance of something is involved. The ego comes even into play, like it doesn't want necessarily the true nature of self as being inherently interconnected. It kind of doesn't even want to have that realization, because that inherently implies that the ego is not as powerful as it likes to think it is. But yeah, you can go down that route if you choose to, or you can keep it at, simpler things. But the question is, what have I been resisting during this time? So you don't need to go back to your solo sites. We probably don't have time for that, but go out for about 10 minutes. You can use your communication with nature techniques. So you could ask for insight onto that question with a being of nature, or simply just use the space and stillness that nature provides to help give you some good space to think about the question.